Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Right, start off, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, we meet again to continue the study of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some personalities. We start off with the intentions was seeking knowledge and teaching. I intend to seek knowledge and to teach, to benefit myself and to benefit others, to remind myself and to remind others, to profit myself and to profit others, to urge adherence to the book of Allah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to invite to guidance and to guide to that which is good, seeking the face of Allah, His pleasure, His closeness, and His reward, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continue on with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم ارزقنا يا ربي فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافيتي يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين وفقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل واهدنا إلى سواء السبيل اللهم انفعنا وارفعنا وعرفنا بالعلم النافع وانفعنا به أنفسنا وأهلنا وأوطاننا وديارنا وجميع المسلمين يا إله العالمين الحمد لله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Continue on with our legacy. Alhamdulillah, we are still with the saviors of the Islamic spirit, with Ibn Taymiyyah, Hafiz Ibn Taymiyyah, right? 1263 to 1328, or 661 years after Rasulullah sallallahu Hijrah, and they passed on at 728. So we can see this is where we are informed. I mean, we do understand that the Prophet has said that in every century there will be, at the beginning of each century there will be a revival of the religion. So we see him as a revival of Islam. We saw, right? We do note that he was besides being very, very intellectual and very knowledgeable, and he also get involved with the government, and he does put in effort to help the people around, right, where the government is concerned. All right, we are with the Tatar army again. We had last week Gagan, I think that was his name. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was counseled by Ibn Taymiyyah, but somehow, we do realize that the ministers sometimes tend to give ideas to their chiefs. Right, news of the Tatar forces advancing towards Syria was again broken in Rajab 702 after Hijrah. Delay in the arrival of the Sultan from Egypt was causing panic among the people in Damascus, many of whom again left for safer places. After some time, 2 detachments of the select Turkish warriors reached Damascus by the end of Sha'ban that year. All right, so we can see that it's rather one year after we have, I'll say 1 month from Rajab to Sha'ban. We do remember last lesson that Ibn Taymiyyah did go to Egypt to talk to the Sultan about his responsibility to protect the people of Syria from the attacks of the Tatars. Simultaneously, however, a stream of refugees from the northern district began pouring into Damascus. Well, it seems that there's some problem with the people of the north, and they go into Damascus. People of Damascus running away. Although we did see Ibn Taymiyyah discouraging people from running away and trying to encourage them on to fight in the jihad, that is the ensuing jihad. A controversy was also raised, perhaps by some over-timid theologians who raised the question whether the Messenes need fight the Tatars at all, since the latter had embraced Islam. So this, according to this author, that these are theologians. Theologians are people who are scholars, right? Who have knowledge, right? Theologians are usually those with tawhids, and so they are saying that can we fight these people, Tatars, because they are Muslims? So there were some people who are discouraging others from fighting the Tatars on the grounds that they were Muslims. The legists are people who make legislations, make laws, were asked to define their position in the light of the Sharia. For the Tatars could neither be called non-believers nor rebels of any Muslim government. So these are two reasons that they see that we can fight them. If they are non-believers and they are attacking us, then we should fight them. Then another one is we are fighting the rebel of any Muslim government. So when we saw a few fights of, previously Muslims fighting Muslims, you can ask, well, Muslims are fighting Muslims, aren't they? Like, for example, we have Abu Talha and Sayyidina Ali, the Battle of the Camel, and you get the Battle of the Siffin with Muawiyah. Well, those were seen as rebels, actually, who try to stir some kind of dissatisfaction with the government. So you can actually fight them to stop them from their sort of mischief in some sense. All right, but of course, that again need to be looked at. Anyway, that is according to the definitions at that time. All right, so Ibn Taymiyyah put them in the category of Khawarij, the sect which had revolted against the authority of both the Caliphs Ali and Muawiyah and had promoted itself to the dignity of caliphate, and pronounced the juristic opinion that it was perfectly lawful to fight such people. All right, so who are the Khawarij? The word Khawarij, we've gone through this Khawarij. It's Khawarij. By the name itself, it means they have come out of the fold of Islam. Coming out. Khawarij, Khuruj is to come out. So they form a group, and we went through some of their ideologies, their ideas, and they were saying that Caliph Ali, they have opinions of Caliph Ali, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, that he was doing it not for Allah and more for his status, and Muawiyah also, they were against both Ali and Muawiyah radiallahu anhum. And they also promoted themselves to the dignity of caliphate. So they want to take over the caliphate using their own ideas of things which are against of course, the teachings of Islam, as Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu was propagating. And so, as Ibn Taymiyyah pronounced the juristic opinion that it was perfectly lawful to fight such people because they are considered as Khawarij. Right? Khawarij means they are out, in some sense, having ideas which are not really Islamic. So the Sultan was still far away, while the reports of Tatar forces drawing nearer to the capital were in everyone's mouth. Ibn Taymiyyah again went to urge the Sultan, who was on his way to Damascus, to speed up his journey. But interesting, I wonder how they do it. They must have really very fast horses, because they didn't have like us WhatsApp. Because this is very, very recent now. Right? Last time they used to have horses, they had to have birds, they had to have sending messengers. Anyway, Ibn Taymiyyah extorted a solemn oath from the Sultan that he would live or die with the people whom Allah had entrusted to his care. Assuming the spirit of a hero, he communicated a similar enthusiasm to the troops. All right, so Ibn Taymiyyah somehow, you can see that he is very influential. He is able to talk and reason out, and the Sultan has agreed to fight, right? And believing that this is what Allah has entrusted him to do. And also Ibn Taymiyyah also went on to the troops to give them the encouragement that that the Sultan would be there with them. Ibn Taymiyyah even swore to Allah that Egyptians would be victorious this time. Somehow he convinced them. He even swore that the Egyptians would be victorious. Quoted in his support, the Quranic verse, whoso has retaliated with the like of that which he has made to suffer and then have been wronged, Allah will succor him. Right? So he was, this is the verse in the Quran, which was the verse here. All right, so has related with like that of that he was made to suffer and has been wronged. So he considers the Muslims being wronged by the Tatars, and Allah will help them. So he felt so assured that if anybody asked him to say, if it should please Allah Almighty, he replied, yes, if it should please Allah Almighty, definitely and unequivocally. So that means he is agreeable that Allah, if Allah agrees, it pleases Allah, then Allah will definitely bring them success. So the Muslim forces of Syria and Egypt were at last arrayed against the Tatar armies in the plain of Taqab on the 2nd of Ramadan, 702 after Hijrah. Ibn Taymiyyah pronounced the legal opinion that the troops should break the fast on that day. He went to every detachment in the line to offer them something to break their fast and told them of the tradition which said, tomorrow you shall have to face the enemy and you should be stronger if you do not keep fast. So this is of course allowed in the Islamic, in the rule of Islam, rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to break our fast, right? Because we are in a state of fighting. Sultan al-Malik al-Nasir Muhammad ibn Qalawun and the Abbasid Caliph Abdul Rabi' Sulaiman were both present in the battlefield. The Sultan fought with indomitable courage and valor. He chained the legs of his horse lest it should run away in the heat of action. So this is the kind of courage they have, and they don't want to run away. It's against principles in Islam to run away from the battlefield. And so one of the ways is to make sure the horse doesn't run away also. After a bloody conflict which continued to the evening and in which a large number of Turkish veterans and chiefs were killed, the Egyptian forces dispersed and dismayed the Tatar arms. So they won actually. Yeah? So taking advantage of the darkness, a large number of Tatar soldiers took shelter in the ravines and caves where the Muslims kept vigil for the whole night and did not allow them to escape their revenge. Right, so this is the final situation is that the Tatar armies ran away to hide, when the Muslims ran after them and did not allow them to escape. So many Tatars who had survived the perils of the sword fell to the archers' arrows or were drowned in the Euphrates. So we know the river, this is the river Euphrates. So they were, although they were not killed during the battlefields, but they ran away and they were shot by the archers. On Tuesday, the 5th of Ramadan, the Sultan entered Damascus with the Caliph and his army generals, who received the warmest congratulations of his subjects. So they did win the battle against the Tatar, as predicted by Ibn Taymiyyah. Struggle against innovations and abuses. After the Tatars' danger was removed, Ibn Taymiyyah again occupied himself with teaching and preaching the purest spirit of religion. As stated earlier, the unhealthy influences of the Jewish and Christian cults had given rise to many heretical practices among the ignorant masses. We do note that as Islam moved out away far from Mecca and Medina, and people embrace Islam. These people who embrace Islam tend to keep on to some of their practices which are against Islam, which are heretical in nature. We see that also in Indonesia, also in some parts of Indonesia still, right? The Indonesians who used to be Hindus still keep some of the practices, Hindu practices. The Muslims in Singapore and Malaysia also had some of that semblance, remnants of those beliefs, but slowly, alhamdulillah, it has been eradicated by the teachings of our scholars who have learned about who work hard to remove all form of heretical practices and bring back the pristine Islam to us, inshallah. A rock by the side of the river Kulut in the vicinity of Damascus was held as an object of reverence by the local population, where they regularly repaired to seek divine favor. So you see how they have gone astray in that sense, so much so that a rock is seen as a place of homage, a place of veneration, to be asking for divine favor. So Ibn Taymiyyah got a rock cut into pieces under supervision by masons and stone cutters, and thus he put an end to a heretical practice. So these are examples of how he fought against practices which are un-Islamic and which are sinful, and of course could amount to shirk. Ibn Taymiyyah always tried to prevent by force, if necessary, accretions and innovations in religion for keeping the pristine purity of religion, constitute the highest form of faith according to the pronouncement of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he say, whoever amongst you should see any act being committed against the dictates of the Sharia, he should put a stop to it by force. All right, but if he does not find it possible, he should criticize and try to reform it. All right, so here is Ibn Taymiyyah continue, moving on to this statement by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you see anything act being committed against the dictates of the Sharia, it is very important to understand it is against the dictates of the Sharia. And some people might not understand what is the dictates of the Sharia because they do not have that much knowledge in Sharia. Sharia is a path that is taught by Rasulullah SAW, and there are specific things which are wajib and specific things which are sunnah, right? And we can stop it by force. No, but then again, as mentioned in the hadith of Rasulullah SAW, in which he says that if you see an evil act being done, then you should use your hands to stop it. That means use your force. But this is only applicable, the use of force is only allowed on the authority. If you have no authority, you are not allowed to do that. That is why when some people use this kind of hadith to attack sins being committed, right, then it is not right. Like, for example, during the Bali bombing, where the Muslims bombed a nightclub because they see sin being committed in the nightclub. But it is, as mentioned, it is not, it's by force, it's only for those with authority. The government, the police force, and such. Of course, in an organization, there are people of authority also. It doesn't have to be that high level. As long as you have authority, you're able to stop it. For example, in the family, also the father has an authority of the family, and he has the ability to actually use force. Because then again, using force, there need to be some kind of there need to be diplomacy and wisdom in engaging the people who are committing acts of sin, right? So if not possible, criticize, that means use your mouth, right? So that is what the Prophet has said also in another hadith, right? If you either use your hand or you use your mouth, or you just hate it in your heart. If you can't do that also, because sometimes when you criticize, things gets worse, and people get even more angry, or you might create some kind of fights and quarrels. So you look at the situation and you be wise in the way you handle the situation. So try to reform it. So that is, of course, amar ma'ruf nahi munkar. That means to encourage good and to forbid evil. So so this is how he sees it. But then again, as mentioned, like some people out there, criticizing people who are doing their Rajab fasting or Rajab zikirs and everything. These are things which we must understand, that there are differences of opinion. And where there are differences of opinion among the scholars, we leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the end of the day, right, fasting is not against the Sharia. Rasulullah has encouraged us to fast. If we decide to fast only in Rajab, it's up to us. Right? We are not making it wajib, right? As long as we don't make it wajib, because to make it wajib would be to change the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Rasulullah has given us an open invitation to fast wherever, to even pray. Praying nafil. Nafil means extra prayers whenever we feel. And there are hadiths in which Rasulullah told us, if you are in a state of fear, then pray. So you cannot say it is against the sunnah of the Prophet because the Prophet never do it. Like, for example, we have Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jailani. He used to do a prayer, two rakat sunnah prayer, right, in asking Allah to forgive him in case he does not do his istinja well. And that means he doesn't wash himself well after relieving himself in the toilet. So he has that prayer that he does. So you can say, oh, the Prophet never did it, so it's not right. No, the Prophet has said, pray. ask for forgiveness and pray and seek help when you are in dire need, when you are it has a hajat, do it. So it is not wrong. See, so unless these are very strict groups of people who are not allowing people to practice Islam and at the with the instructions of Rasulullah SAW in that sense. And zikir, like if you want to do now it's already 21st of Rajab, so some people have this, they want to increase in their amals. This is subhan. They believe this is a month of Allah, so month of Allah, they want to dedicate it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so they say Subhanallahi Ra'uf, that's a zikr that we're having it now, 100 times. So no, why must be 100? Why cannot, who tell you it's 100? Why the Prophet never ever tell us it's 100? But the Prophet say zikir, so zikir lah. It's up to me how I want to zikir, how many times, 100 or 1,000, right? But what is important, I'm told in the Quran also, right? By the remembrance of Allah, hearts comes to rest. Allah bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub. So, and Allah says, remember Allah, zikir, remember Allah. So it's an open invitation actually. So there is no, so it's not force people or criticize people or condemn people who are doing all these prayers and fasting in the month of Rajab, because when they are concerned, Rajab is a haram month, which means it is a sacred month. If Allah makes it sacred, then we should also see it as sacred. All right. And if he does not find even that much possible, he should at least hate it through this, although this constitutes the lowest category of faith. So that's the hadith that we are talking about. It was really the business of the administrators to see that irreligious practices did not spread among the Muslims, but they had no time to devote their energy to this important task. So it is a job of the administrators to make sure this is happening, but they didn't do the job. Hence, Ibn Taymiyyah make it a point for himself to do it. The religious doctors too, more often than not, either did not care or found shy to oppose such accretions out of regard for the popular sentiment. So there's problem also with some religious doctors, means ulama, knowledgeable people. They have knowledge, they know it's wrong, but somehow they fear being opposed, they fear being unpopular, right? So they do shun from advising against such popular cultures. Ibn Taymiyyah had therefore taken upon himself the onerous responsibility of acting as a public censor of religion and morals. It takes a lot of guts and courage, right, to be out there to denounce actions or activities that are somehow accepted by the community as fine and okay. It formed a society along with his followers and students to censor the notorious irreligion of the ignorant folk and guilty schismatics. So those who says schisms, right? They are the one who create all these problems. They teach people nonsense. This was a voluntary effort and with no other aim except to seek the pleasure of Allah by making these people observe the sacred law. An old man who called himself Al-Mujahid Ibrahim ibn al-Qattan and wore a long flamboyant quilt with long nails and hair was brought before Ibn Taymiyyah in Rajab 704 after Hijrah on charge of being addicted to intoxicants and abusive language. So this is the kind of people who sometimes, try to be different, right? By, in this case, he's like very big, huge quills. They're walking around with long hair and nails, and considering themselves, some people think, oh, he's pious and things like that, or they're doing things right, but actually he is addicted to intoxicants and abusive language. So these are trademark. These are indications that they are not following the right way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, intoxicants definitely out, but to use abusive language is definitely against the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who promote beautiful words and akhlaq, manners. Good manners comes with good language, not abusive language. He ordered his nails and hair to be trimmed and his coat to be torn to pieces. So the man was made to renounce drunkenness and revilement. Another old man, Muhammad al-Khabbaz al-Balasi, who claimed to be an interpreter of dreams and mysteries, were forced by Ibn Taymiyyah to give up his impious practices. So these are charlatans, right? Those who try to use the insecurities of people to play on their emotions, right? And they do sometimes gather a big following. We've seen that in Malaysia, where they introduce religions, beliefs or nonsensical beliefs. It's not then. It's always been there. Human beings who want to create cults and things like that, and they have to be approached, right, and stopped. However, as Ibn Kathir reports, Ibn Taymiyyah earned the displeasure of a section of population on account of these reformative activities. As we know, this is going to happen. We do things right against the flow of the current sentiments of people. There will be those who would not like you, because especially those who are in power, right? This is akin to the prophets, who always sent to stop mischief making and corruption, and the elites are always the one who are involved, and they see their position threatened. So those who see their position threatened would be against such reformative activities. All right, jihad against heretics. Ibn Taymiyyah had earlier accompanied Al-Afram in his expedition against the heretical sects living in the hills in 699 after Hijrah. This is before the Tatars attacked and the Muslims conquered the Tatars. Remember, the Tatar attacks at 702 after Hijrah. We did go through these groups of people, right? The Ismailites and the Batinites. So in Zulhijjah 704 after Hijrah, he again visited them with Zainuddin ibn Adnan, and a large number of his friends and followers, although his efforts to bring them back to the fold of Islam were partially successful, and quite a good number of them repented from their sins, and they remained as a whole indifferent to Islam. So it's not easy. We do understand that not everyone would embrace change easily, especially when they are so into their ways of doing things, and they find it they are loyal to their ways and their leaders and things like that, right? So the separatist sects, generally consisting of Batinites, Ismailites, Hakimites, and Nusayrites, had caused severe harm to the Muslims. So they are those who introduce lots of ideas which are un-Islamic ideas, and of course praying to the graves and things like that. They were the people who had invited the Crusaders and the Tatars to invade the Muslim countries, helped the invaders against Muslims, led expeditions of loot and plunder whenever they found the latter weak and defenseless, and they still pose a danger to the security of the surrounding areas. So we do see them as traitors against the Muslims, and because they have different ideas and ideologies and ways of their changes, and they do not like the way the Muslims are, and most probably they are threatened, and they need the help of other powers, right, to destroy the Muslims. So they are traitors, definitely. Ibn Taymiyyah invited the attention of the Sultan towards the crimes committed by these people in a letter in which he wrote, "When the Tatar hordes had attacked Syria, these forsakers of true faith has misbehaved with the retreating Muslim forces. These very persons had been in league with the Christians of Cyprus and had helped them to capture a portion of Syria. They formed the vanguard of the Cyprian armies, trafficked in Muslim arms, horses, and serfs, and transferred a large number of them to Cyprus." So this is the things that they do as traitors. It's why in any government, traitors are killed, because traitors pose a threat to the stability of the government or the community and the state. And so they have to be either killed or imprisoned. Like in Singapore, so we've got the IST, where they would look out for those people who are a threat to the harmony and peace of the society, and they would jail them. So it is nothing new for all governments. It is to protect the interests of the people. For 20 days, they held regular bazaars to sell the Muslim captives and munitions of war to the Cyprian Christians. So this is the thing that they did, right? As they work with the Christians of Cyprus. They gleefully welcomed the Tatar invaders, but when Allah bestowed victory to the Egyptian forces, they openly expressed their grief at the defeat of our enemies. So they are with the Tatars, and they're happy the Tatars are attacking the Muslims because they hate the Muslims. right? Because they feel the Muslims have practices which they're not happy, not agreeable with. These people had earlier conspired with Genghis Khan and Halaku. These are the earlier Tatars, and they were responsible for the sack of Baghdad, destruction of Halib and Salihia. There are in fact numerous other instances of perfidious and disorderly conduct to their credit. Peace of the surrounding Muslim areas is continuously disturbed by them. So they are a terrible group of people, right? And so we need to handle them and get rid of them or banish them. That's what Rasulullah also did to the Jewish group, which were very which betrayed their trust of Rasulullah or the Muslims. They carry out nocturnal raids, ravage the Muslim habitations, and commit grievous crimes against the Muslims. So the Cyprians visit their lands, they extend a red carpet treatment to them, but no Muslim can travel safely in their country. So this is what Ibn Taymiyyah wrote to the king to explain to the king the need to get rid of these people, or at least to imprison them or to banish them. Ibn Taymiyyah headed an expedition against these schismatics for the third time, which set out from Damascus in the 2nd of Muharram, 750 after Hijrah. He was supported by a powerful army led by the governor of Syria. Inaccessible areas of Jud, inhabited by Rawafis, and the hilly tracts of Tayamna were opened up according to a judicious plan by which the roving plunderers were completely subdued. So this is what you call it guerrilla warfare, where the government comes over to remove these elements, these evil elements, but their areas are so difficult to venture through, mountains and plants and trees and everything, so areas inaccessible. So they made a very, very under Ibn Taymiyyah, they actually had a plan out, very, very clever plan to remove this difficulties, and hence they were able to subdue the people of Rawafis. So the hilly tract and dark and impenetrable plantations which threatened every step of the invading troops with its secret snares and ambush. So you can see that it's not easy for them, right, to go through these places because they are not familiar with the terrain. And the people, those people whom they are to subdue, are familiar with the terrain, and they have got their points of ambush and invasion and things like that. So Ibn Taymiyyah pronounced the legal opinion that cutting down of these plantations was permissible under Sharia, since similar action was taken by Prophet ﷺ in the case of Bani an-Nadir. An-Nadir is the Jewish community, Jewish tribe, right, that was a threat to the Muslims. And so Rasulullah did similar actions against them. So Ibn Taymiyyah says, okay, to cut down all the trees because we need to clear the place or else we will be ambushed. So the presence of Shaykh al-Islam in this expedition, says Ibn Khatir, proves propitious. It was good, he was there, and he could make rulings on the spot. Both his erudite learning and courage provided strength to the Muslims and filled the hearts of the enemies with malice and grief. So they were very unhappy with the way he does things because he was very, very smart, very judicious, very wise in many of his approaches, right, to get rid of the harm. Contention of the Rafa'iyah mendicants. On the 9th Jamad al-Awwal, 705 after Hijrah, a group of extremist Rafa'iyah mendicants called upon the governor of Syria and demanded that Ibn Taymiyyah should be stopped from enforcing the rules of Sharia on them. So mendicants are some of the leaders, people who are their group, they're the main people of their group. So they actually went to the governor to stop Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah, on the other hand, insisted that everyone would have to govern his conduct according to the principles laid down in the scripture and the traditions, and whoever tried to transgress these rules would be opposed by him. It's a Muslim country, you're able to do that. You're able to impose the laws of Islam on these people, especially if these people is a threat to the peace of the community. The Rafa'iyas also wanted to enact several black arts, like walking on fire, as a proof of their being on the righteous and divinely approved path. Somehow they are doing things which are against, and yet they believe that they are righteous and approved. They claim that their wonder working was accepted as a mark of the piety by the Tatars. Ibn Taymiyyah refused the plea and remained firm on his demand, with the result that the Rafa'iyas had to put off the iron rings worn by them. So they had all these ideas, all kinds of weird practices, right, which they claim to be divinely inspired, and because as a sign of piety. So these are the real bid'ahs, which is not at all present in the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibn Taymiyyah remained, and they lost actually. So later on, Ibn Taymiyyah wrote an exhaustive article delineating the history, beliefs, and the practices of the Rafa'iyya order. This is critical, this is essential, this is necessary, right, to educate people of the wrong practices of this order. Opposition of Ibn Taymiyyah. The way Ibn Taymiyyah was trying to enforce the moral and the religious principles of the Sharia had earned him a vast following. A section of influential religious doctors, however, annoyed at Ibn Taymiyyah taking the law in his hand and jealous of his growing popularity, was looking for an opportunity to discredit him in the eyes of the administration and the people. So such groups of people do exist. They can be scholars, they can be people with knowledge, but their envy, right, gets the better of them. They are not people of taqwa, of wara, right, who are able to overcome all forms of envy, and so be happy for Ibn Taymiyyah for his work in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they have their own vested interests and reasons for objecting to Ibn Taymiyyah, and usually there's such people, they would be able to instigate the government, right? Many governments have been instigated, all right, to by way of stories that would create worry and within the government, stories like maybe Ibn Taymiyyah is so popular, it's going to overtake the government, control over the government, so those kind of things. Ibn Kathir writes, a group of the theologians were jealous of Sheikh Taqiyuddin Ibn Taymiyyah because of his position in the court of the governor, and also for his acting as a public censor who had taken upon himself the responsibility of enforcing what was lawful and preventing what was prohibited. They were envious of his growing popularity and of the love and respect accorded to him, as well as of his learning and zeal for religion. All right, let's just finish that. Yeah, so that's the we stop here today concerning. So there's a bit more. This is the we have Ibn Taymiyyah here. All right. So this is the state of condition with Ibn Taymiyyah in his effort to encourage people to do good, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some people are not happy with him. All right. Anybody have any questions, any comments to make, on this part of our lesson? You can always unmute yourself, because I've allowed you all to unmute yourself. And although you all enter muted, because in case some people might have sounds which disturb others, but yeah. All right. We were at the 12th hadith. Ashtighalu bima la yufid. Getting busy with what does not benefit. It's not your concern actually. And Abi Hurairah qala radiyallahu anhu qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So from Abi Hurairah, he said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, min husni Islam, of the good of Islam, of al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi, is that a man leaves what does not concern him. Hadith Hasan, rawahu Tirmidhi wa ghayruhu hakada. Right, so this is reported by Tirmidhi. So we continue on with the explanation of the hadith. The heart busy with Allah will turn away from what does not concern it. So this is a reality. If you are concerned with your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're busy with your work, your studies, your Quran reading, then you would have no time to be concerned with things which are, to be busy with things that are concern you. The matters that concern a person are that which is connected to one's livelihood and that which is connected to the success of his hereafter. So this is the only thing that should concern you, is that what is the needs of your life, needs and not the wants. The needs of your life, eating, drinking, clothing, shelter, right? Not extravagance. Again, that's been warned by Islam, right? And also to work hard for the next world. So these are the things that concern us. Muslims should be occupied with the noble matters, not trivial, petty affairs. So we should do things which are good for ourselves, good for the community, good for the environment, good for all, right? Noble things and not with trivial and petty affairs. We need to discipline and rectify our souls from vices and shortcomings and leave that which is of no benefit. So we need to discipline ourselves, we need to improve ourselves, our souls, and we need to remove ourselves from vices and shortcomings, things, and improve our state every day, be a better person daily, and leave that which is of no benefit. All right. So that is the hadith, that is the recap on the commentary on the hadith, number 12. This hadith 13, I forgot to put the 13 there. Ukhuwatul Iman wal Islam, brotherhood of Iman and Islam. An Abi Hamzata Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu khadimi Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam qala la yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibbu li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi, rawahul Bukhari wa Muslim. All right, you know this one thing here, we'll look at translation afterwards. We look at the Arabic here first. From Abi Hamza, right? Abi Hamza, the father of Hamza, Anas ibn Malik. So Anas ibn Malik is radiallahu anhu, a sahaba of Rasulullah. So they put khadimi Rasulin. Khadim is a servant. Khadim is one who does khidmat to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was given up. His mother actually gave him to tend to the needs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Nabi, from the Nabi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what Rasulullah says: not believe one of you. So one of you will not believe one of you until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Rawahul Bukhari wa Muslim. So narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. So we look at translation, the brotherhood of Iman and Islam. It is an authority of Abu Hamza Anas ibn Malik, the slave of Messenger of Allah. See, they put a slave here, right? It is not right. We saw the word Khadim. Khadim is not a slave. And Arabic is a slave. And to translate it to in the word slave would be quite wrong, because at that time, during the Prophet's time, a slave is one bought. And the slave got no rights of his own. This is not his one. He wasn't bought by Rasulullah. His mother gave him to Rasulullah to do service. Khidmat is to do service to Rasulullah, to serve Rasulullah. And that's why we call them servants, actually. But he's not really that. And we have looked at a number of hadiths from him, very interesting hadiths from him, because he was very close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, so Rasulullah a slave of Rasulullah and the Prophet said, none of you is a believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. So none of you is a believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Most of us have heard this hadith, right, related by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. All right, Al-Bukhari has collected it in faith, right, because none of you is a believer, so he puts it under the chapter of faith. Chapter of a part of faith being the loving for one's brother what one loves for oneself is number 13. So there are a few chapters in Al-Bukhari. Then we've got Muslim. Muslim is another scholar, Islam traditionist, has collected it in faith, the chapter on the evidence that it is from the qualities of faith that one loves the good from one's Muslim brother what one loves for oneself. So that's number 45. And Nasai has collected it in faith, the chapter on the sign of faith. Right, and then At-Tirmizi has collected it. Has collected in the description of the standing, the chapter entitled "Rather, O Hanzala, an hour and an hour." So just put it in a different chapter, right, on standing. And Ibn Majah introduction number 167. So these are what this part of the book tells us how popular this hadith is, that it is taken by at least 5 of the Muhaddithin here, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, An-Nasa'i, At-Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah. Importance of the hadith. And Nawawi says in his commentary on Sahih Muslim, the great Imam Abu Muhammad Abdullah bin Abi Zayd, the Imam of the Malikis in the Maghrib in his time, said, all the etiquettes of goodness branch out from 4 hadiths. So there's 4 hadiths, right, that represents etiquettes of good. 1, the Prophet's statement, whoever believes in Allah in the last day, let him speak well or remain silent. That's the first one, right? Etiquettes of goodness. From the excellence of one's Islam is leaving what does not concern one. So we've done that. We have not done whoever believes in Allah the last day, let him speak well or remain silent. And quite a number of us are not able to practice that. And somehow we just talk a lot nowadays. We just message and we just comment. Right. All right. Then we did last lesson. And his statement for the one whom he gave brief advice to not become angry, whom he is not her, whom he gave brief advice to not become angry. So not become angry is a goodness, and it's an etiquette of goodness, right? And finally, his statement, none of you believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. So all these 4 hadiths, in which we have done 2, right, points to good behavior with your contemporaries, the Muslims. Perhaps there's a secret behind An-Nawawi choosing to include these 4 hadiths in his 40, some of which you have covered and the rest are to come if Allah the Exalted so wills, inshallah. Al-Jurdani says in his commentary on the 40 Nawawiyah, this hadith is one of the foundations of Islam, because Islam is built on beautiful manners, etiquettes. It's a beautiful character. So this hadith is one of them. The language of the hadith. La yu'min, believe with perfect faith. So you will not believe with perfect faith if you do not do this. You have belief, but the belief is not perfected yet. Ahadukum, one of you. Whoever claims faith and Islam from amongst you, so one of you, right? That's what it means, right? So whoever claims Islam from amongst you. Then li akhihi, I couldn't get the Arabic, sorry. Male and female Muslims, and it has been said that it is one's brother in humanity. So for his brother, some says for Muslims and non-Muslims, Muslims, male and female, but there are others who says all of humanity. Ma yuhibbu li nafsi, what loves himself for himself. The same goodness that he loves for himself. Ma is whatever he loves for himself. Li nafsi. All right, legal matters and other guidance from the hadith. Legal matters means rulings, right? And other guidance from the hadith. The Muslim community being firmly connected and love and amity therein, right? So this hadith shows us that the Muslim community, the people, the Muslims are all firmly connected. They are loving each other, they're caring for each other, and love and amity. That means they've got this kind of amiability with them, and love and care and affection, and all those things. There. Islam aims for all people to live in love and amity. So that is the aim of Islam. Everybody should be living in peace, loving each other, and being good to each other. Each individual amongst them striving for the benefit of all and the felicity of the community so that justice prevails. So every single Muslim should work hard to benefit everyone, and of course to ensure the happiness of the community, and that there is justice throughout the community. Tranquility spreads in people's souls, and there is cooperation and solidarity between them. So this is the aim of Islam, for all people, that everybody is in a state of tranquility. And that is why we've got severe punishments for those who disturb the tranquil lives of people, like, for example, robbers, cutting of hands and things like that, rapists. All these are punished severely. And there is cooperation and solidarity between them. So they are working with each other, they love each other, they do things for each other, right? Whatever I like for myself, that means I do it for my friends also, and solidarity. This cannot be realized unless every individual in the community wants for everyone else the same goodness, happiness, and prosperity that he wants for himself. So if everybody is in that good state, right, everybody is thinking of others, you know, and want good for everybody, then life will be good. But this is not happening. Of course, we do know that even in family members, there's quarrels and squabbles and hatred and all kinds of sad things happening among them, in the Muslim community. We should not. We should be working towards, caring and sharing and loving each other. Inshallah, we pray for that. This is why we find him linking it to faith and making it one of its qualities. So Rasulullah link this behavior, this attitude of wanting good for others. It is part of faith. If your faith is not complete, if you're not able to love for others what you love for yourself, right? So it is a quality of a believer. A believer has this good quality of wanting good for others, and as he wants it for himself. Complete faith. The foundation of faith is realized by decisive affirmation in the heart, and the heart submitting to Allah's lordship along with firm conviction in the remaining pillars, such as faith in the angels, the books, the messengers, the last day, the decree, and predestination. So he's saying that the foundation of faith is very important, that the core of the faith, the foundation of the faith is built on, we talk about foundation, is something which is built on by decisive affirmation. So the heart must decide to affirm the heart to submit to Allah, along with firm conviction in the remaining pillars. What are the remaining pillars? So you've got these are the 6 pillars of Islam: believe in Allah, believe in the Rasuls, believe in the angels, believe in the books of Allah, believe in the last day, and believe in predestination. So that's 6. Right. So we're covering here 6 of them. Right. So the first one is make sure you submit totally to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is your Rabb, you are a slave. So it's a lordship of Allah, means understanding that He is the Rabb, your Rabb. That means He is the one who you would obey at all times because you're a slave of Him. And also believing in the angels. It's very important for us to believe that the angels are there. The books of Allah, Allah sent books. The angels are there, right, to administer instructions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with the angels, knowing of the presence of the angels, we are aware that our actions are being watched all the time. And so we tend to be much more careful with our actions, inshallah. And we are aware that the angels are there to send by the instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, food and sustenance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the books of Allah, this means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent on messages to us, right, to guide us on how to live in the best way on earth. And the messengers are there to bring these books, right, and also to live by the book, so that we see that living by the book is not difficult, it's not impossible. Right, as I mentioned, Rasulullah is it's a living Quran, it's a walking Quran. The last day, knowing that there is a last day, that our life on earth is not forever, that there will be a resurrection, right? So we are aware of that, and we work towards resurrection. We live life for the resurrection, actually. And then decree and the predestination, certain things which Allah has decreed in our lives, right, and destined for us. So we need to be thankful, be grateful, and not to move into states of depression and cursing and finding anger and things like that. Just move on in life and live by the decree and the predestination. There's lots more to discuss of that, right? So the foundation of faith is not based on anything besides this. So that's all the foundation of faith. So in this hadith, Rasulullah makes it clear to us that faith does not take root in the soul, does not become consolidated in the heart, and does not become perfected in the Muslim's chest unless he becomes a person of goodness. So that is, faith is in being good. Why is that? Why does this hadith entails goodness? Because the hadith expects us, wants us, requires that a believer, right, should love for his brother what he loves for himself. So remove from selfishness, malice, hatred, and envy, and thus he only loves for people what he loves for himself, such as being safe from evil and harm, enjoying a pleasant life, and being victorious with Allah, the glorified pleasure, and being close to him. So these are the things that we want in our life. We want Allah to protect us from evil, so we don't want to cause evil to anybody. We want Allah to protect us from harm, so we don't want to harm anyone. We want to enjoy a pleasant life, so we want others to enjoy a pleasant life also. And we want to make life hell for them. And we want to be victorious with Allah, Allah's pleasure. That means we want to do things that will allow us to be to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some things that realize this completion in the Muslim soul, right? And these are some things that realize this completion in the Muslim soul. These are the things, right, in our soul that makes us a complete believer. So these are some things. Sorry, this scholar is going. This author is going to outline a few things that realize this completion in the Muslim soul. So what are the things that we need to look into so that we are complete as a believer? That he loves for others the good that is permissible and acts of obedience that he loves for himself. And he also despises for them the evil and disobedience that he hates for himself. So he loves to, he knows that, praying on time is good. So he wants others to do that also. He knows that being generous is good, being kind, saying good words to people are good. He wants that for others also. And he knows that lying is bad. He doesn't want lying for others. He knows that gossiping is bad, doesn't want gossiping for others. He knows that cheating is bad, so he hates it for himself. He doesn't want to be a cheat. He doesn't want to be a liar. He doesn't want to be a gossiper. He doesn't want to be a slanderer. So he also doesn't want that for others also. Right. So that's the things that will make you a complete Muslim, a complete believer. Ahmad has collected the hadith of Mu'adh in which he asked Rasulullah SAW about the best faith. Rasulullah says that you love for people what you love for yourself, and you dislike for people what you dislike for yourself. So this is an extension of this hadith that we're talking about, right? That whatever we love for ourselves, we love for others to have it also. And whatever we dislike for ourselves, we also dislike it for others. B. So this is, first one is to want good for others. Second one, that he works hard to rectify his Muslim brother if he sees him falling short in his obligation or deficient in his religion. So he needs to work hard. But then again, there's a lot of, got to look at the situation and how you work hard to improve your Muslim brother if he sees him falling short in his obligations or deficient in his religion. Short in his obligations, if you see your brothers not fasting not praying 5 times a day, so you find ways and means to help him to understand the importance of salat, right? Or he is deficient in his religion, he doesn't do things right, he doesn't be deficient, he doesn't like to read, doesn't read the Quran daily, and you know the benefits of reading the Quran is immense. So you set good examples if you can't change him and make him and tell him stories about those, the beauty of the Quran once, not all the time because we'll get very upset and you keep on pressurizing them. Send good messages, and nowadays you can just send messages. If they read, alhamdulillah. If they don't read, then we have put in the effort to help them through, right, who are deficient in this religion. That he hastens to be just towards his Muslim brother and to fulfill his rights, just as he would love for others to be just towards him and to fulfill his rights. So as you want the people to be fair to you, then you be fair to others. And you want people to fulfill your rights, then you fulfill the rights of others. So these are the 3 things, right, to help you to become a better Muslim. Muslim has related from Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever would love to avoid the fire and enter paradise, let his wish be fulfilled as long as he believes in Allah and the last day and treats people the way he would like to be treated. So you see that it is really critical that we treat people good. It's very important is to give good treatment to others. So be careful in your relationship with people, that you do things right. So if everybody is of that position of doing good to everyone else, then life will be quite good, inshallah, for all. Right? So that is why this hadith is the foundation of faith, inshallah. All right, we'll take a break here. Inshallah, we'll continue in a while. It's 11 o'clock here. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We continue with Hakim Murad.
ثم الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وإليه المصير وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدًا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالحق بشيرًا ونذيرًا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز ومن يعصهما فقد ضل ضلالا بعيدا اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله الأطهار وأصحابه الأخيار ومن اتبع سنته وسار على نهجه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فيا أيها الإخوة المؤمنون سلام الله تعالى عليكم ورحمته وبركاته قال الله تعالى في الكتاب الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, glory to he who took his servant by night from the holy mosque to the furthest mosque around which we have blessed to show him of our signs. Truly he is the hearing, the seeing. As we move to the end of the blessed month of Rajab and we embark upon the month of Sha'ban in which there is the horizon of the light of Ramadan, we find this culmination, this extraordinary time in which there are so many lessons. He was shown, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so many signs, most of which are beyond the capacity of our minds to imagine, but there are signs for us as well. He was, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in a difficult time. This is the year of sadness, Am al-Huzn. His beloved protector, Abu Talib, has passed on. His beloved wife, Khadija, has passed on. The persecution of the arrogant Quraysh has never been more acute. The clouds seem to be gathering. It is the year of sadness. But then this extraordinary moment comes, which is in a sense the culmination of his story and therefore the culmination of the whole human story, which begins when he is sleeping in the Hatim, which is the semicircular area next to the Kaaba. And then the journey begins, the most extraordinary journey, which he himself describes in a famous hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. ثُمَّ أُوتِيتُ بِدَابَّةٍ, he says. After other signs, we have to keep the story short. Then I was brought an animal, a creature. دُونَ الْبَعْلِ وَفَوْقَ الْحِمَارِ, smaller than a mule, larger than a donkey. أبيض, shining white. يَضَعُ خَطْوَهُ عِنْدَ أَقْصَى طَرَفِهِ, it will place its hooves at the furthest part of the horizon. This is extraordinary. Buraq hasn't figured before in human history. Uniquely honored by being the one who will accompany the chosen one, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, on this mysterious journey. And the Buraq is quite small, smaller than a mule, larger than a donkey. And the human mind asks, why not some great prancing stallion? Why something small? Well, the ulama have many explanations for this. But one that is close to our mind is that he was, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the object of glory and amazement on that journey. The Buraq, riding beast, quite small, not like ourselves. What do we like to ride? Luxury cars. We stroke them, we polish them, and we kiss them, we caress them, and we glide proudly past the poor with our noses in the air. Unfortunately, we have this culture. Not the chosen one, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He rose up because there was no dunya to bring him down. He didn't care. He was not interested in the things that are subject to the dunya's gravity. His heart was with his creator. Despite all of the difficulties, his heart was with his creator. In that difficult time, his creator was enough for him. Inna kafaynaka al-mustahzi'in. Allah tells him, we are enough for you against those who are mocking you. Islamophobia is not something new. They had offered him so many bribes in order just to stop talking about Tawheed and turning people away from their ancestral idols. He could have anything he wanted. وراودته الجبال الشم من ذهب عن نفسه فأراها أيما شمم وأكدت زبده فيها ضرورته إن الضرورة لا تعدو على القسم. So much poetry, as you can imagine, about the chosen one, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And in this poem, the poet says, the whole mountains offered to turn to gold for him, but he just turned his back on them. And his need only emphasized his renunciation, his zuhud, because neediness does not take a good man into sin. Despite the immensity of his need and the weakness of his situation, he refused all of that. Of dunya, he was really free. We need to remember that, because gravity gets us all, but dunya will not last. Let us imagine that we are on some great ship, perhaps the Titanic, and it's sinking. We know that it's sinking. In a few minutes, we'll be in the water, in the cold sea, to face who knows what judgment, what fate. What do we do? Anything heavy, we throw it away. Coins in our pockets, never mind, they mean nothing now. Suitcases, you're not going to jump into the heaving ocean with your baggage, your laptop, throw it away, it becomes nothing at that terrifying time. So also it is that we do not want to be dragged down in this dunya to a watery grave. We want to make light. This doesn't mean that you can't have things. It means that they should not be heavy for you and your heart should not be attached to them, and you should use them for everything that is good. By all means, shelter, transport, look after your children, of course, but let them not be heavy so they drag you down and prevent you from spiritual ascent. And then the hadith goes on, فَانْطَلَقَ بِي جِبْرِيلٌ. Jibreel takes me on. And we know the story. And again, there's a sign here. Many people ask. We know that the Kaaba al-Musharrafa is said to be directly beneath Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, beneath the throne in some way that's unimaginable. Why Jerusalem? Why the detour? Why not straight up to the presence of the One? In this, there is a lesson. And the lesson is to do with his khatmiyya, the fact that he is Khatam al-Nabiyyin, seal of the prophets. He goes to Jerusalem, and what does he do there in that extraordinary place? We know what he does there. He leads the other prophets in prayer. He greets them. He acknowledges them all as perfect messengers of the one God. And they acknowledge him as the seal of the messengers of the one God. And this is part of the beauty of Islam. The seal, khatam, what is it? You only seal something if it's precious and you want to keep it and preserve it and affirm it. You don't seal a letter if you just want to throw it away or if there's something wrong in it. You don't seal a bottle of something precious. No, He's the seal of the messengers, means the affirmer of the stories that came before him. مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, confirming the truth of that which was before him. The beauty of Islam that says, لَا نُفَرِّقُ بَيْنَ أَحَدٍ مِّن رُسُلِهِ, we do not distinguish between or discriminate amongst any of his messengers. So many, the ulama say 124,000 maybe prophets of God. لِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ had, for every nation there has been a people. This is part of his generosity, with the same message, the same tawheed, sometimes with a different sunnah, depending on time and place, to make things easy for people so that they can understand. Different languages, different colors, different worlds, but with one message and one heart. And so he leads them in prayer, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to affirm that this is not kicking away what was there before. This is the crown which rests upon its head. There are some who look at the great founders of the Abrahamic traditions, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salam. Some say yes, no, no. Others say yes, yes, no. But this ummah is the one that says yes, yes, yes. It is the crown of messengership in this way that is not competitive but is affirming. What is the significance of the Golden Dome on this mosque, which the architect wanted to remind people of the Golden Dome, which is the Qubbat al-Sakhra, which is his Masra, the place of his ascension, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It's saying yes. It's not saying no to Sayyidina Isa, so dear to so many hearts. It's not saying no to Sayyidina Musa, so precious in so many hearts. It's saying yes, yes, yes. It is about inclusion. And we find this, the Mi'raj. Maybe there's no event in human history about which there has been so much poetry. In every language, Arabic and Turkish and Urdu and Farsi and Uzbek and Malay and everything, they all have it and they love it, and the poets can't stop praising him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in this great culmination of his mission. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So what does he do, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? سريت من حرم ليلا إلى حرمي كما سرى البدر في داج من الظلم وبت ترقى إلى أن نلت منزلة من قاب قوسين لم تدرك ولم ترم وقدمتك جميع الأنبياء بها والرسل تقديم مخدوم على خدم وأنت تخترق السبع الطباق بهم في موكب كنت فيه صاحب العلم. This is what he says. It's not so good in English. In Arabic, it's ecstatic. You can feel the poet's love and his joy. By night you travel from sanctuary to sanctuary as the full moon travels through the darkest night. And then you continue to ascend until you reach the degree of Qaba Qawsayn, 2 bows lengths, never reached before, nor even imagined by any human being. And all of the prophets placed you before them in prayer, just as servants placed before them the one whom they serve. And you went up and went through the 7 heavens with them in a cavalcade in which you were carrying the flag. So much beauty, so much love in these lines. حتى إذا لم تدع شأوا لمستبق من الدنو ولا مرقا لمستنم خفضت كل مقام بالإضافة إذ نوديت بالرفع مثل المفرد العلمي. Goes on, the poet can hardly stop himself. He's so full of love. Subhanallah. The place that is only for him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, no room there for any other. And it is from there that he ascends. From that place which says yes, 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 to his khatmiyah, the crown of religious history.
Inshallah, we will continue with his beautiful speech next week. Next week is 27th of Rajab, which is our date for Mi'raj. Inshallah, we'll continue and we'll have a little bit of discussion of what Mi'raj entails, inshallah. Right, we continue with our hadith. The loftiness of the Muslim and his humanity. It is part of the Muslim's completed faith that he does not confine himself to loving good and despising evil for his fellow Muslim only. He should love that for those who are not Muslim and especially faith. So he should love that non-Muslims embrace Islam. That's what it means. So not enough just for Muslims, but for all of humanity. He should love other disbeliever to become Muslim and have faith, and he should dislike and detest disbelief and iniquity for him. So whatever they are doing, which is not right, we don't like it, but we do not condemn them for it. It's very important to understand that. We do offer them. We do offer all the Muslims, all human beings, everyone in this world to become Muslims, inshallah. Of course, we know it's not possible. It's not possible, as Allah has said in the Quran. If He wishes, He can make everyone believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and slaves. But He has His reasons, and Allah knows best. But it is our duty to make duties. It's good for us to actually make du'as and hope for the best for all, be they Muslims or non-Muslims. He has said, love for people what you love for yourself, and you will be a Muslim. So that's what it is. Right? Love for people, not for believers, but for people. So everyone, you should love good for them. You should love that they are guided. You should love that they become good people. We do for all, inshallah. Therefore, it is recommended to supplicate for the disbelievers' guidance. Competing in goodness is from the completion of faith. It is not out of deficiency in faith or envy that the Muslim asks Allah the Exalted for virtues that other people have and make them superior to him and to strive to reach their level. So it's okay, right? You see people with great virtue, people with doing ibadah, you see people doing sadaqah, you see people with beautiful manners. You do to become like them or even better than them, right? And so that you can reach great heights of spirituality. All of that is part of the completion of faith, regarding which Allah the Exalted has said, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. And in that, let the competitors compete. And in that, let the competitors compete. So we are all competing, right, to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, competing to gain the greatness, to gain that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sabiqun, that means we are in the forerunners. We want to be the forerunners, right? First class honors, inshallah. This distinguished community is one of the fruits of faith. In this hadith, he is strongly encouraging every Muslim to take it upon himself to love goodness for people, so that can be a proof from him of the veracity of his faith and the excellence of Islam. So by wishing good for all, it shows that this is a great faith and that Islam is an excellent way of life. It's a way of life where everyone wants good for everybody. We are not interested in ourselves alone, but care for others. And people like Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu has said that rights of others, honor them. Your rights, forget it. In some sense. Right? It means consider others more important than yourselves. Furthermore, it is so that the distinguished community can be realized, because if each individual loves for everyone else the same goodness that he loves for himself, he will treat them well and protect them from harm. Then they will love him and treat him well and protect him from harm. This is how love and goodness spread amongst all people. Oppression and evil are lifted, and life's affairs fall into good order. This is how love and goodness is. It's of course it's utopia. I call it. That's what they call it like that. It's an amazing world where everybody loves for each other, cares for each other, no selfishness, right? This world of materialism doesn't exist at all. But it is what Allah has planned for us, but we are not adhering to the plans of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why we've got lots of problems in societies, even among family members, where people are very vicious to each other, vindictive, angry, hate, vengeance, malice, and all those things exist. It's just not Islam, right? So we should work towards improving ourselves at all times, not to have hatred, to have love and care and concern for all. Even if they don't appreciate it, don't understand it, we continue being good and loving. And inshallah, one day, if it's not rewarded here, you will be much, much rewarded in the next world, inshallah. This remains the case as long as each individual is aware of the interests of the group, is happy when they are happy, rejoices when they rejoice, and feels pain when they feel pain. As the chosen one, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, affirmed when he said, "You see the believers in their mutual love and compassion like one body. If one limb complains, the rest of the body becomes sleepless and feverish to help." Collected by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. So that means the pain suffered by a small part of your body, right, would cause the whole body to react, so much so that the pain would be removed, or would feel of less pain, inshallah. So that's how we work together. We care for each other. We love each other. We do things good for each other, inshallah. At that point, Allah the Exalted grants might, nobility, and supremacy to this community in this world, an excellent reward in the hereafter. So once you attain that status, that state of caring and loving, and having always great concern for others, then Allah will grant us might, nobility, and supremacy. This community will be blessed with might, nobility, and supremacy once they move into care and concern for others. And of course, an excellent reward in the next world. A community devoid of faith is selfish and hateful. When faith fades from the hearts and is completely extinguished, love of goodness for others also disappears. In its place comes envy and the intention to deceive. When the heart is full of envy, wanting good for yourself, only caring only for yourself, right? And trying to find ways and means to destroy others, to deceive. Selfishness becomes consolidated in the community, and people become human wolves. They devour each other, they destroy each other, they want to get more and more and more and more money, not caring how it affects others. Who cares? As long as I get what I want, that's what it is all about. That is what materialism is all about. Life becomes corrupt, oppression prevails, rancor and spite pervade, hatred and antipathy spread, and Allah's statement, "Ama amwatun ghayru ahya," dead, not alive. "Wa ma yash'uruna ayyana yub'athun," and they do not realize they are dead, not alive, and they are not aware of when they will be raised. So they are in that state where they just don't have faith. In fact, their soul is dead. Right? They don't live for good. When you say you're alive, means you're alive for good, you're alive for compassion, you're alive for all this. But instead you're corrupted. Why? Because you lost Allah. You oppress others because you don't see the actions, the consequences of oppression. Rancor and spite pervade. Hate. You have spite for each other, and antipathy spread. So this is the order of the day during the Jahiliyyah times, where the chiefs, oppressors, the common people, and the other groups which are being oppressed, they are wolves, devouring people, money, and communities in which people have got no compassion whatsoever on the poor and the sick and the less fortunate. We have a community in which we have the zakat system, which aims to improve the lot of everyone. And that is why when we have leaders like Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, right, the whole place in a state of security, and everybody was well off, and everybody was in good state, and no Muslim needs any zakat at that time. So this is the reality of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith advises strong encouragement of harmony between people's heart and working to put their circumstances in good order. This is one of the most important things that Islam came for, and which it strives for, right? To encourage harmony between people, love, care. We forgo whatever they have done. We move on to become good and magnanimous, right? Generous and caring. We just be good in ourselves. Making envy loathsome because it is inconsistent with the completion of faith. The envier hates to see anyone else doing as well as him or better, or perhaps he wishes that a person to be deprived of good and it had never reached him. This is a sad state in some communities where they just don't like to see people successful, and they will find ways and means to destroy those who are successful. Instead of working hard to improve their condition so that they are also successful, they try to destroy the successful ones. Faith increases and decreases, right? So these are the hadith advice: encouragement for harmony, hatred for envy, and it increases with obedience and decreases with disobedience. If you obey Allah, your faith will increase. If you disobey Allah, your faith will decrease. All right, so that's hadith 13. Alhamdulillah, we did that hadith 13. We continue with our Surah Sabah. We should be finishing Surah Sabah, inshallah, either this week or next week. We've got 3 or 4 more verses to go through. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We did 48 to 50 in the last lesson. He, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is to say that whatever reward he asks is for themselves. So as he said that the reward is for their own selves, that means they will gain from what he teach. Right? So it's not his reward. He wants good for them. That is why he brings Islam. He works hard. He went through lots of trouble for them. His reward is with Allah, the witness to all things. He, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is to tell them that his Rabb tells the truth. He is the great knower of the unseen. So, qul, this is a qul. This is what Rasulullah was instructed to say. Allah is the truth, tells the truth, and he knows the unseen. He is to say the truth has come and the falsehood shall vanish and shall not return. So he told them that truth has come and the falsehood will disappear and will not return. So Allah is to say, if he errs, that is against his own soul. If he is guided, it is because his Rabb revealed to him. So if he says, if I'm wrong, as you say I'm wrong, then I'm the one, I will suffer for my wrong. But if I'm guided because my Rabb has revealed to me, so he's emphasizing that he is guided because his Rabb has revealed to him the message. Allah is hearing and near. So he knows Allah hears whatever he says, and Allah is close by. He has no worries and he has got no other concerns. As long as Allah hears him, he knows Allah is there for him. Our next verse. And walau tara, and if you see إذ فازعون, when they become terrified, فلا فوت, then no escape, وأخذوا, and they were seized, من مكان قريب, from a close place. So this is now putting back into those people, this is the condition. And if you see when they become terrified, but there shall be no escape, and they shall be seized upon from a near place. Allah then gives a situation here to Rasulullah SAW alone. Walau tara, and if you see when they are in a very, very frightened state, right, and there is no escape for them, the answer to the conditional cause is suppressed. The reason for such a suppression is that the answer is beyond expression in words. Their situation cannot be described in words. They are in a very, very bad state. The implication is that today, such is the extent of their arrogance, that they are totally unruffled, that if people could see them when they will be seized by Allah's grip, they are denying today, they will have some idea of their helplessness. They will show total submission and acknowledge the truth at that time. So when they are seized, they have no way of getting away from it. They are in a bad state. Then what will happen? The verse goes on to state that when these people would be seized by Allah, they will worriedly try escape from it. Surely none can escape from the grasp of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Commentators are divided on the time this impatience and fear occur. Some of them believe that this relates to the worldly chastisement or to the chastisement at the time of death, while some others say that it relates to the punishment of the day of hereafter. So when does this seizing occur? Right, the Mufassirins are of differences of opinion. Some say it's a time of death, that they are seized and they cannot escape death. right? And they are punished, those who are evil ones. We are told that the angel will come in a very, very horrible condition, frightening condition, smelly condition, right? And they have no way to run away from the angel. And of course, death is inevitable. They will die in the worst of grips. And then, of course, some say no, it's in the next world where they will be seized and put into hellfire and punished. And they will be seized from a very close place. They will try to run away, but will be caught from nearby. In such a manner will Allah's torment seize them from above their heads and below their feet, that they will not be able to run anywhere. So this gives a very frightening condition that they will be seized. That means they have no choice. They have no way to run away from this Caesar, and it's going to be a closed place, and they will be caught unexpected. These faithless and cruel persons not only can escape from the realm of the power of Allah, but also He will seize them from a place which is very near to them. The people of Sheba was destroyed by the same great dam which was in the midst of the city and was the cause of their life and motion. Allah afflicts them from the nearest place in order they see His power. A great deal of unjust kings were killed or destroyed by their nearest men, and many of the cruel, powerful men received the last stroke from the inside of their homes. So that is the reality of people who are arrogant. They will be seized, they will be destroyed, right? From places which are just so close to them that they never imagined that these are the places in which they would meet their doom. All right. And they said, past tense, Amanna, we believed bihi, in it. Wa anna, and how, lahum, for them, tanawush, the attaining min makanim ba'id, from a far off place. And they shall say, we believe in it, and how shall the attaining be possible to them from a distant place? They are far away. At that point in time, they would say, we believe, right? So at that point in time, they would say, we believe in it. And Hasan al-Basri said, when they come forth from their graves, وَقَالُوا آمَنَّا بِهِ, and they will say, we do believe in it. Means on the day of resurrection, they will say, we believe in Allah and His angels, books, and messengers. At that time, they will come out of the state of inebriation and realize what the reality is, and they will proclaim faith in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when they are dead, they come to realize, as Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu says, we are dead, and at death, when we die, we realize we are in a dream. The world is a dream. When we die, we realize the reality of our lives. Die. Right, so they come to realize the reality of their lives. They come to realize the reality of God. Right, they come to realize the reality of who the angels were. The He in Bihi is the Quran. So some say believe in it. They believe in the Quran. They said because there are those people who denounce the Quran, who denies the words of Allah, but now they are awoken and they realize that they have no choice when they are seized or when at death, as the previous verse mentioned, they were seized. Right, and they cannot escape. They were in fear, right, and they cannot escape. And they will say, "We believe in it." Believe in the Prophet who has presented the Quran is automatically implied. Wa anna lahum, because once you believe in the book of Allah, then you believe the Prophet is a messenger of Allah. Wa anna lahum tanawush min makanim ba'id. And how is it for them, right? This confession from a far place. The word tanawush means to attain, acquire something. And the expression anna lahum implies what chance is left to acquire it at that time. At that time, when they are awoken from the grave, right, what is there for them? Right? They cannot say, oh, we believe, right? When it is useless. Islam is about believing without seeing. Once you see it, there is no, your belief is accepted. It's like Fir'aun, when he was dying and he saw the angel coming to take his soul, he says, I believe in the God of Musa. Allah says, now then you want to believe? No. It's over. How could they attain faith now that they are so far removed from the place that it could be accepted from them? That means they are away from the earth. They are out of the earth. They are far from the earth. They are no more in the world. So there's no way they can attain any faith when they are out of the world already. It's already, time is up. and they have entered the realm of the hereafter, which is the realm of reward and punishment, not the realm of trial and testing. If they had believed in this world, they would have been good for them, but now they have entered the hereafter. There is no way that their faith can be accepted, just as there is no way a person can anything if it's far away from it. So it's as if saying there's no way you can attain it. And how for them, the attainment of a far off place. They are far from the place where they're supposed to attain their action, their good. Mujahid said, Wa anna lahumut tanawush means, but how could they, at tanawush means how could they attain that? As Zuhri said, they will wish to attain faith when they have reached the hereafter and are cut off from this world. Hasan al-Basri said, these are all scholars, they will seek something when they have no way of attaining it. They will seek faith from a distant place. The time to accept faith was this world, and that too before Allah's torment visits a person. When Allah's torments arrive, they will be so far away from their destination of accepting faith that there will be no chance left for them to reach it. So it's too far away. You are no more there. The place is cut off from you. The moment of accepting the faith is no more there because it's over. Upon seeing Allah's torment, a person as arrogant as a Fir'aun has expressed his intention to profess faith in the Rabb of Musa and Harun alayhi salam. Yet the answer that he received from Allah was, is it now that you have professed faith? Yet when you had the time to accept faith, you showed disobedience. Surah Yunus, verse 91. Yes, when the death and the sudden punishment come, the doors of return will absolutely be closed. And as if there will be created a firm dam between man and recompense of the past wrong deeds. For this very reason, expression of faith at that time is done from a very far distant place. That means there's no way you can attain faith when you are in the next one. Principally, such a faith which is compulsory and is because of extraordinary terror of the punishment they see by their own eyes is of no value. Right? At that point in time, you see it, so there is nothing to believe in, believing without seeing. وَقَدْ كَفَرُوا, and surely they disbelieved, bihi in it min qabl, from before. وَيَقْذِفُونَ, and they were hurling بِالْغَيْبِ, at the unseen, مِن مَكَانٍ بَعِيدٍ, from a far off place. And they disbelieve in it before, and they utter conjectures with regard to the unseen from a distant place. Surely they denied, they disbelieve in it from before. So that is the reality. Last time when they were in the world, they disbelieve in it. They disbelieve in the book of Allah. Earlier, they rationally speculated that this book is a fabrication. It's presented, Allah forbid, it's an imposter. His threat of punishment is a mere bluff. So these are the things which they said, we used to say about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? His books he created a book, he made a book, you know, it is a book inspired by the jinns, all the things like that. He's a madman, all kinds of things they call it. And the warning of the day of judgment is a product of his insanity. It's crazy to even talk about this so-called resurrection. So they disbelieve in everything that he brought. They further contended that if ever the day of judgment comes, their gods will secure their dominance there. So they're so sure that their gods will be there for them. Their gods will help them. The gods will intercede for them, right? Because their gods are the daughters of gods. The angels, the gods are the angels who they claim to be daughters of Allah. And Allah. It's all this nonsense that they believe in. They have denied it before, and there is no second chance for them. But before that, when they were in the utmost freedom and authority, they disbelieved in what was true. They not only disbelieved, but forged all kinds of accusations on the Prophet ﷺ and his teachings. وَيَقْذِفُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, and they threw accusations, they hurl conjectures at the unseen from a far off place. مِن مَكَانٍ بَعِيدٍ. This is the image of a person who judges the supernatural world without having any knowledge. Just like throwing something from a distant place rarely strikes the target. This conjecture and a judgment of theirs does not strike the aim either. Sometimes they call the Prophet a sorcerer, sometimes mad, sometimes a liar, Sometimes they consider the Quran as a production of the thought of a man, and sometimes they entirely deny the paradise, the hell, and hereafter. So these are all the conjectures that they made, that which did not reach its mark, which is not true, which goes back to them and destroy them. All of these were a kind of stoning to unseen, throwing an arrow in darkness and throwing something from a distant place. In short, while disregarding sense and reason, they continued to utter nonsense in frenzy of denying the Quran and his messenger. Yet, the truth manifests itself before their eyes, they will acknowledge it. However, this acknowledgement will be too late and bear no fruit. Wahila bainahum, and was barred between them, wa baina ma yashtahun, and between what they desired. Kama, like fu'ila, was done bi ashya'ihim, with their kind, min qabl, from before. Innahum, surely they kanu, they were fi shakkim murib, in doubtful suspicion. And a barrier shall be placed between them and that which they desire, as was done with the likes of them before. Surely they are in a disquieting doubt. Allah says, and a barrier, wahila bainahum wa baina ma yashtahun, and a barrier will be created, will be erected between them and what they desired. When a decisive punishment will appear, then a wall will be erected between them and all their desires. They would like to accept faith, but it will be futile. They will request for some respite, but their call will not be heard. They will invoke their deities, but they too will not respond to them. In short, all doors of hope will be closed on them, and they will have to face eternal despair. This is right. They are blocked from whatever they desire. They desire salvation, and they will not get it. In a painful moment, they see that all their wealth and properties, all their castles and positions, and their desires are separated from them. Those who have clasped even a penny and could not leave the least material possibilities must suddenly say farewell to all of them and shut their eyes and go towards a dark and terrible future. So do whatever they have lived for, whatever they have become their gods in the previous world, their money, their position, their status, they are inclined to it, they reject the Prophet and the message of Allah, this all will go away from them. How beautiful, says Amirul Mu'minin Ali radiallahu anhu, when he illustrates the moments of death and separation from the bounties of the world through his delightful word in the clearest form. He says, pangs of death and grief for losing this world have surrounded them. They are in a state of pain because they're going to die, and they're going to realize that all that they worked for all this life, all this while, is gone from them. Consequently, their limbs become languid and their complexion changes. And death increases its struggle over them. In one of them, it stands in between him and his power of speaking, although he lies among his people. Looking with eyes, hearing with his ears, with full wits and intelligence. Then thinks over how he wasted his life and in what activities he passed his time. He recalls the wealth he collected when he had blinded himself in seeking it and acquired it from fair and foul sources. This is the reality of people when they are dying. Can't even say anything. You look at people around you, you realize that that's it, the time is up, you can't do anything, all your work is futile, it's useless. Now the consequences of collecting it have overtaken him. Right? Whatever is going to happen to him, for all that he has done, his struggles in his life, his works, hard work for the world, right? The consequences of his actions will come, and he will have to bear the consequences of his actions. He gets ready to live it. It will remain for those who are behind him. They would enjoy it and benefit by it. It will be an easy acquisition for others, but a burden on his back, and the man cannot get rid of it. Therefore, he would therefore bite his hands, thereupon bite his hands with teeth out of shame for what was disclosed to him about his affairs at the time of his death. And he regret what he has done. Feel ashamed of himself for not being true slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would dislike what he coveted during the days of his life and would wish that he who envied him on account of it and felt jealous over him for it should have amassed it instead of himself. How he hoped that others would have it instead of himself, working so hard, gaining so much, and living life for the world and nothing more but he realized at the point of death is useless. كما فعل بأشياعهم من قبل. Right, just like how it was done. Those people will meet the fate, same fate as their earlier ones, as they have done on their earlier ones. They will, just as it was done on those who were of their kind, okay? And before that. This refers to the people of Ad, the Thamud, Madian, and Pharaoh. That means those who are of their kind, those who go against Allah, those who go against the messages of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they suffer the same consequences. There's nothing which has not taken place earlier. History bears witness that all nations met this very calamity, who, like these people, denied the warnings of the respective messenger. These people do not learn a lesson from these earlier nations, then they too will necessarily meet the same fate. Innahum kanu fi shakkim murid. Surely they were in doubt, right? In clear doubt, right? Shakkim murid, yeah, in doubt and suspicion all the way. These earlier nations too were inflicted with a similar baffling doubt until a decisive moment arrived. As a matter of fact, no one adopts shirk and atheism and denial of the hereafter by conviction, nor can he, for conviction comes from knowledge. Because they have no knowledge, right? They cannot have conviction of having many gods. They cannot have conviction in believing there's no God. They have no conviction for the hereafter because they do not have knowledge. And no one has a knowledge of that there is no God, or that many others have a share in divine authority, or that there should be no hereafter. There's no way this knowledge does not exist. As whoever has adopted these beliefs in this world has raised a structure on mere conjecture, which has no basis except doubt and suspicion. And this suspicion led him to sheer error. It is a reality. Allah says, well, surely they were in sheer error, they were in doubt, suspicion, right? They have no knowledge whatsoever that made them to believe in all what they believe. Consequently, they doubted Allah's existence, they doubted the truth of Tawheed, they doubted the coming of the hereafter, so much so, and they made this doubt their faith and did not listen to the prophets and expanded and wasted their whole life indulging in the wrong creed and way of life. This world, their doubts to their faith will not be accepted from them when they behold the punishment with their own eyes. Qatada said, beware of doubt, for whoever dies doubting will be raised doubting. And whoever dies believing will certainly be raised believing with certainty. Inshallah, Allah make us among the believers. Ameen. All right, we actually finish the surah. We will go through this the summary of the surah in the next lesson, inshallah, and then we'll go on to a next surah, inshallah. We continue on with we end off with our dua. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta khalaqtani wa ana abduka wa ana ala ahdika wa wa'dika mastata'tu a'udzu bika min syarri ma sana'tu abu laka bi ni'matika alayya wa abu bi dhanbi faghfirli innahu la yaghfiru dhunuba illa anta. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل القتر أنثى وذكر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.